Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the third episode of CELPIP Live Season 2. As promised last episode, here is your trivia question for today. How many islands does Canada have? Again, this is an easy question if you have done your research about Canada before immigration. So if you know the answers, share it below. How many islands does Canada have? Please do not Google this. You can also share this image and your answer on Instagram with the hashtag CELPIPLive, and we may feature it on our feed. And as always, I will reveal the response at the end of our segment. But for now, let's start our show. So if you guys are new here, CELPIP Live is an interactive YouTube series made to help CELPIP test takers understand a little more about the CELPIP test. Now, if you're about to write the test, please subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon to be notified about the latest CELPIP news and about all our episodes as soon as we go live. In today's episode, we have a guest from Canadim. Canadim, as you may already know, is an immigration consultancy firm. Jennifer is an immigration lawyer at Canadim, and she will be sharing information and latest updates on Canadian immigration. Let us go say hi to her. Hi, Jennifer. How are you doing?
Hi, Aswati. I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And I would love for you to begin. But before that, please, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I am an immigration lawyer. I've been working at Canadim law firm for around 4 years now, and mainly Canadim is known for their expertise in Canadian immigration. So whether it's permanent residents, temporary residents, the Express Entry program, provincial nomination programs, Quebec immigration, we are known as the top leading immigration firm in Canada, as we've been in business for almost 20 years now. So so I'm one of the lawyers there. I do all the consultations, I do the assessments for immigration. So if you call Canadim, you'll most likely be talking to me.
Great. Thank you for sharing that information. That is good to know. So I am going to let you begin your presentation. I'm looking forward to see what you have for us today.
Thank you. All right. So I imagine that a lot of people are asking, when can I come to Canada? How long are the processing times? So my answer is processing times are delayed for permanent residents. IRCC cannot provide an accurate time frame, but if you go online on their website, you will be able to see different processing times, and you can use that as a guideline. It's not 100% accurate, but it gives you more or less an idea of how long IRCC, which is Immigration Canada, will take to process your permanent residence application if you wish to come to Canada now. So I'm just, as you can see in the PowerPoint, there's different points for permanent residents, and then I will speak about temporary residents. So I'm just going to continue with this. So the test centers. So there's also, no, sorry, my second point is the visa application centers. So the visa application centers, also known as VACs, will be opening up slowly, but for now, they are temporarily closed for the most part, and they are operating with limited hours and limited services. So if you are interested in submitting an application, you should do it online. And if you have to provide any biometrics for your application, or you need to submit a passport, always check online if your VAC is open, because most of them will only take appointments online or on the phone. So make sure before heading to your VAC to check their opening hours online. So the third point is the test centers availabilities. So The language test, for the most part, is a required component for permanent residents, and it has put a stall in many people's application. However, as you may know, language tests are opening up for the most part, and thankfully, right now, CELPIP hopefully has some openings, and I believe Aswati will be discussing this with the audience at a later time after my presentation. So depending on what Aswati will be saying, go ahead, do your language test with CELPIP so that you can get kickstarted with your permanent residence in Canada. Another great news during coronavirus is that IRCC is now allowing for incomplete applications to be submitted. This is great because before applications would be returned if you had any documents missing, but IRCC is now aware that for most temporary and permanent residence application, not everyone can secure all the required documents. So at this point, they are not refusing any applications. They will not close any applications because of missing documents. However, you do need to provide an explanation letter to say, I can't get X documents because of X reason. So as long as you have a letter of explanation, they will keep your application in process and will then at a later time provide you with 90 additional days to provide the missing document. So don't be scared of submitting applications for permanent residence. Even if you're missing documents, IRCC will still be accepting your PR applications. And the latest update for the Express Entry program. So for those of you who don't know, the CRS score is how you are ranked for the Express Entry program, which is a federal permanent residence program. And since the beginning of the pandemic, the CRS score has dropped significantly. So pre-COVID times, the score was in the high 470s, which is very, very high and competitive. And it has dropped, nearly 20 to 30 points throughout, since March. The latest score was 454 for those who have Canadian experience in Canada. And that is really good news because this means if you're in Canada and you have, your 12 months of full-time skilled work experience, do not wait to apply for the Canadian experience class, and we can help you with that as well. So that's my updates for permanent residents during COVID. I'm going to move with temporary residence applications. So for the temporary residence application, there is post-graduation work permits. So for those of you who in the audience are in Canada completing your studies, you will need to apply for what we call a PGWP, which is an open work permit for international students who complete their studies in Canada. And this is a great way for students to gain Canadian work experience full-time with any employer that they desire, and then hopefully be able to apply for permanent residence afterwards. A lot of students are concerned with whether or not they'll be eligible for this post-graduation work permit, whether because there was a break in their studies due to COVID, or if you are outside of Canada pursuing your studies online. Don't worry. IRCC is accommodating international students inside Canada and also outside Canada so that they can be eligible for this work permit. So what's great is that international students who are outside Canada can complete up to 50% of their program online and then pursue the rest of their program in Canada. This applies for students who are pursuing their studies during the spring, the summer, and the fall of 2020. So that's basically the roundup for the PGWP. In terms of study permits, there are travel restrictions, obviously, as you may know, so that limits international students to enter Canada to pursue their studies. So for those of you who your presence is not mandatory or required for a course in Canada, then you will have to be studying online in your home country until the travel restrictions are lifted. So for example, if you have a laboratory or a workshop that requires your physical presence in Canada, then you should be granted entry to pursue your studies. But if not, then unfortunately, you can pursue your course online. You will still be eligible for the PGWP up to 50% of your course. Another important factor is that if your study permit has already been approved, and if it was approved before March 18th, then you can definitely enter Canada as well. There is no problems there. So biometrics. So I think most of you who are present today in the audience know about the biometrics requirement. It is the fingerprints and a photo that has to be provided. It is valid for 10 years. So a great update during COVID times is that IRCC has exempted temporary residents of submitting their biometrics. So whether you're applying for a visitor visa, a study permit extension, a work permit extension, you do not need to provide your biometrics if you are inside Canada. This does not apply if you are outside Canada. You still have to provide your biometrics. But if you are coming to Canada as an essential worker, you do not need to provide your biometrics. So there are differences whether you're applying for permanent residence or temporary residence. But for the most part, there are exemptions for those who are inside Canada with a temporary status. And lastly, this is some fresh news that came yesterday, actually. So in case you are currently in Canada as a visitor and you have a job offer, so whether you have a labor market impact assessment is what we call LMIA, or if you are exempted from it, then you have the possibility of applying from a work permit from inside Canada. So this is a major news because previously you had to exit the country and apply from outside Canada. But if you have been in Canada as a visitor before August 24th, in that case, you can apply for the work permit from inside Canada. So as I mentioned, we do provide a free consultation, and it is with me. It's 15 minutes. And if you do want to schedule an appointment, feel free to email us. We created a CELPIP email address specifically for this CELPIP Live. It's celpip@canadim.com. Please, send any questions, any requests for an appointment, and we will be super, super happy to help you out.
So thank you for that presentation and all that information. We have quite a few questions, but I will start out with one question that is also asked from our viewer here. So basically the question is, like, in your opinion, how do you see what trends do you see next for immigration? Will CEC draws continue, or will IRCC switch back to general draws?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question I get asked almost every day. So in terms of express entry, I am hoping to see federal skilled workers draws, Canadian experience draws as well. For the most part, because of border closures, it's difficult to tell, but for sure, a trend that we're expecting by the end of the year is to have more federal skilled workers so that foreign workers can come to Canada and immigrate during this pandemic. Hopefully as well, if there are more federal skilled workers draw, then that means lifting the travel restrictions. So to allow families to be reunited, spouses, common law partners to come to Canada as well, who are partners of temporary residence. And hopefully exemptions for biometrics for permanent residents. This is what's holding up most permanent residence in Canada and outside Canada to be finalized. So this is trends that we're hoping to see by the end of this year.
Thank you for that. I hope that answered your question. We have another question from Satyam, and I think you did talk about this. People who are outside of Canada who cannot go for their biometrics because their VACs are closed. What is their status? Or I think the question is, when can they expect PPR in these conditions?
Yeah, so the COVID is affecting countries differently, and visa application centers are opening depending on whether or not it's safe. When a VAC chooses to reopen, it's because they've implemented health measures to make sure that they're safe, and also the applicant who wishes to come to the center. So my answer would be, go online, like I mentioned, look up the phone number of your closest VAC and contact them. Some of them will allow you to book appointments online. And if ever it has to be canceled, they will cancel it to let you know that there's no availabilities right now. But definitely getting in touch with them by phone is the way to go.
Okay, perfect. I hope that answered your question, Satyam. If you have any other questions you'd like to ask, please let us know in the comments below. So I have another, there are a few other questions we're getting. According to you, will PR applicants from the United States and other countries that are restricted in Canada, will they be allowed inside the country? What stage does their application need to be for them to be considered a permanent resident?
So essentially, when a PR application is finalized, you will receive a permanent residence visa to enter Canada, or a confirmation of permanent resident, what we call a COPR. So at this stage, if you are in the United States, you can come to Canada and you can finalize your PR application once you enter the country. However, if you are not from the United States, then you can't enter Canada. So only applicants that have a permanent residence visa issued before March 18, 2020 can enter Canada to finalize their application and become permanent residents. Or if you have an approval after March 18, it's because it's through the sponsorship program. So you are either a spouse, a common law partner, a dependent child of a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. If you don't meet any of those categories, then you cannot enter Canada and you cannot finalize your PR application.
Okay.
So essentially essentially it's just waiting until travel restrictions are lifted, but it is what it is.
Okay. So we have another question from Pablo. So I will ask this question, Pablo, but I also want to tell other people who are asking questions, if you have really specific case questions, Jennifer has been kind enough to share an email address. You're welcome to ask there as well. So Pablo's question is, I'm inside Canada as a visitor and I have a job offer, but without LMIA. Is there any change? So I hope you understood this question.
I do understand the question. So as I mentioned before, there is a new public policy that came into place yesterday, but your job offer can't just be, a little simple paper that says, here's your job offer. It has to be supported by a labor market impact assessment, which is an LMIA, or you need to be in a category where an LMIA is exempted. So there are certain job fields where you don't necessarily need an LMIA, but you need an offer of employment number. I think in Pablo's situation, he is not meeting either of those categories, but if he needs assistance on how to obtain an LMIA, I can certainly help him with that. So just email CELPIP@canadim.com and I'll get in touch with him.
Thank you for that, Jennifer. And Pablo, I hope that answers your question. I have another question from my three. I think this question is about work experience as it relates to federal skilled program. My work experience is adding to 11 months. I'm missing the 1 year mark by a month. How hard would it be to still try for federal skilled worker program?
Unfortunately, the requirement is 12 months of continuous work experience for the federal skilled workers program. So, at this time, even due to COVID, if you have been laid off, the requirement still remains the same, which is 12 months of work experience.
Great. Thank you for that information. And I hope that answered your question, my three. So I think that, first of all, thank you for answering our questions and thank you for being on the show. And I find that, a lot of these questions that, again, I want to tell you guys that if these questions are very case specific, there is an email ID that Jennifer has shared. You're welcome to ask her all the questions you need. So sorry, I'm getting a lot of questions, so I'm just taking a moment to kind of consider my thoughts. So for the people who've just joined us, Jennifer, could you just quickly run through who all can people still apply for work visas, student visas, and permanent residencies or immigration visas?
So it is possible in terms of different applications. So if you're looking to apply for permanent residence, go ahead. It's definitely, the program is still open. And the same applies for study permits, work permits, visitor visas. Now, of course, if you want to come to Canada at this time, keep in mind there are travel restrictions. There is a quarantine that is mandatory for 14 days, and you have to expect longer processing times. That's just a reality. IRCC is working at minimum capacity, so you have to be patient during this process. Immigration is a long process for certain types of programs. But if your question is, are there any programs that are suspended? The answer is no. So whether you want to come to Canada temporarily or permanently, you can go ahead and submit an application.
Thank you so much. And I hope that answers your question, Rajat. Rajat had a question about processing times, which you just answered. So thank you for that. So Jennifer, I think we've come to the end of our segment. Thank you again for being on our show and asking our viewer questions. I also look forward to having you on our show in the future as well.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to tell the audience, please feel free to contact us. Don't be shy. The email was created specifically for you to reach out to us. We are the leading immigration law firm in Canada. And as you can see, we're very friendly. We're here to help you. Most of us have immigrated to Canada, so we know how this process can be stressful, and we're here with you to guide you along the way, to provide you tailored service for your immigration. So please reach out. It's free. You have nothing to lose and everything to win. All right. Thank you so much, Aswati. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So that was Jennifer. Like she said, she is an immigration attorney from Canadim. We're really glad to have her on our show. So I do want to, before I go into news updates, I do want to tell you guys that you guys have asked us a lot of questions on our communications at paragontesting.ca about test centers filling up. And I understand, since we are trying to maintain physical distancing, we are trying to maintain all those rules about making sure all our test takers and our staff are safe. We have reduced the number of test takers in a room. So what you can do is follow us on Instagram, because we share stories on last minute openings in many places. And you can also just register through the link in our bio. So it's a very helpful service. You can certainly find out any last minute updates, and you can also transfer your tests for free. So do consider following us on Instagram. Okay, it is now time to go to our news updates. So one of the top questions we get on social media is about free products. We do have a lot of free products for you. For example, even before you register with us, we have one sample test free that you can just take on our website, celpip.ca. And once you do make an account and register with us, not register for a test. When you make an account with the CELPIP.ca website, you get another practice test for free that you can also try and see if it works for you. After you make an account and register for a test, you get 5 hours of CELPIP Accelerate for free. So those are all the products you get when you make an account and register with us. You also have webinars. Some of you, most of you, I hope, may know Brandy, who comes live here with us. She also hosts her webinars on speaking and writing because those are the two topics that a lot of people ask for. These webinars are always free, and you can access them on our website as well. And if you're just looking for like general English tips, you can please consider following on Instagram. We post general tips and, just fun English stuff every day. So, well, not every day, but very often. So that will help you keep you on your toes. So yeah, that's it. And we do have, I want to tell you that most of our centers are open on our website. You can check that. We have a few centers that are still waiting to open in September. Hopefully we will have them open. But if you are looking for test centers near you, please check our website. You can also sign up for notifications. But like I said earlier, your best bet would be to follow us on Instagram and see what the latest last minute openings are. So that's it for our news updates. I haven't forgotten our quiz in the morning. So the question was, how many islands does Canada have? The answer is 52,455 islands. So that's 52,455 islands that Canada has. Canada also has the most number of lakes in the world. So, if that is another trivia question you ever want to ask someone, you will now know that the answer is Canada. Canada is the country that has the most number of lakes in the world. Now, you know the answer to our islands. If you wish to share this with your friends, please take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. You can also hashtag CELPIP Live, and you may be featured on our feed. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us and subscribing to our channel. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, but more importantly, share it with your friends who may also find it useful. Our next episode will be on the 8th of September. So if you have any questions that you couldn't get answered here about the CELPIP test, please ask us in the comments below. Or as always, you can also send your question at communications@paragontesting.ca. You can also connect with us through our social media channels. We interact with our viewers and our followers as much as possible. We try to answer their DMs as much as possible. So you're welcome to follow us and interact with us there as well. But until our next episode, please stay safe and wash your hands. Bye.
I'm just gonna say thank you and